First of all, thank you all so much for coming out here to show your support for the efforts that people right across this province are making to have some justice and some equity in the housing market in Alberta today. When Ed Stelmach was elected leader of the Progressive Conservative Party and automatically became, at least for a while, the Premier of the province, he promised a number of things. He promised to be open and transparent. He promised that housing would be a #1 priority. You know, one of the things I've noticed about Mr. Stelmach is that he's all talk and no action. Mr. Stelmach portrays himself as a compassionate conservative, somebody who cares, somebody that is going to get things done for the people. But you know what? When it comes right down to it, there's a major group in this province, over 1 million strong, who rent their homes. And they are dependent on a market system for rents to make sure that they can keep their homes and they can afford to have a place to live for them and for their families. Well, my friends, that market just isn't working right now. The government was so hell-bent on lowering taxes, cutting environmental laws, and eliminating labor laws in this province to create a massive boom that they forgot to think about what the consequences would be for us. And that's unacceptable. That's a shame. Now we have people moving here to this province from all over the country, and there is no place for them to live. Young families, young couples that want to start a family, can no longer afford to buy a house. And they're forced into the rental market, as are thousands of people coming from all over Canada to this province. There's no place for them to live. And the rents go up. The market is broken. There is such a shortage of such a shortage of supply, and there's such a great demand that unscrupulous landlords can take advantage of all of us. And we're here to say that is unacceptable. We're here to stand up to the Stelmach government and to landlords who want to gouge us and say, no way. We believe that we need to bring on significantly more housing onto the Alberta market in order for the housing market to start to work again. But even with the feeble efforts of the provincial government to create some new housing and to fund some new housing, it's going to take 2 to 5 years before that housing is available to rent. And in the meantime, the shortage of housing is only going to get worse. And that's why we've called for temporary rent guidelines that would allow landlords to increase the rent only once a year and only by the consumer price index plus 2%. We think that is a reasonable policy. We think that provides protection, and when there's enough housing and the supply and the demand get into balance again and rents come down a bit, then we can take it off. We don't see it as a permanent thing, but people need help now. Ed Stelmach and his Conservatives have rejected that. The Kevin Taft and the Liberals have got a different housing policy which would allow a 10% increase and limited only for 1 year. The problem with that policy is that it's going to take between 2 and 5 years for new housing to come on the market. So if you only limit your rent control to 1 year, at the end of that year, people are still going to be faced with the same situation. And if the landlords didn't hit you in the first year, they'll get you back in the second year. So the Liberal policy doesn't work. The Stelmach government's policy doesn't exist. Only the New Democrats have a clear policy that will help renters in this province now. I want to thank you and salute you for coming. I want to express my appreciation, the appreciation of my caucus colleagues for your support, for your coming here, and for your courage to stand up for your rights in this province.